Start of another week here on NBL Now. Great to have your company as we kick off the build-up to round 7 and look back at what was another intriguing round in the Hungry Jacks NBL. Joel Peterson with you. A very good morning to former Sydney King Brad Rosen. G'day, Brad.
Good morning, Joel. What a weekend. Oh, God, I just love the NBL.
It's all over the place. I mean, we've got blowouts, we've got close games that maybe we don't expect. There's results going every which way. What did you learn out of the weekend? What was your one takeaway from what you saw?
Oh, if I'm Cam Oliver, I'm running back on defense. If you want to play in the last few minutes of the game, you need to be doing those little things. But yeah, it was such a big weekend. Where do we start? So much to unpack.
Hey, I think we might have a new MVP contender as well in the NBL, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. You were with the Kings on Sunday, and of course a team you watch very closely. Where are they at the moment? You said right off the top of the broadcast you weren't sure what you were going to get in terms of expectations around Sydney. Where are they at right now?
I saw exactly that. I'm not sure what to expect. Their good is so good, but their bad is so bad at the moment. I think the absolute number one thing is they need Jalen Adams back. This is no disrespect to any point guard. Robinson's doing his job. Sean Bruce is doing what he can do. But the head of the snake there is Jalen Adams. In the first few games that they played this year in Perth against Adelaide in Hoop Fest, and then in Perth again against Perth, Jalen was outstanding and the team rolled and everyone fit in really well. Every time he hasn't played or he's played poorly, the Kings might win, but they scrape that win, or it's an ugly win, or they lose. So I'm a little bit worried, and I think a lot of loss and the way they're playing is from that point guard role, but also just the effort, the energy, the one percenters. I mean, take Lupepe out of it. That guy had 7 rebounds, all offensive. My God, he's a beast. And I think Xavier Cooks is doing everything he can. Everyone else is up and down, and they're just not playing with that energy and effort that I would expect them to play to get wins. And if you ever want to be questioned, it's coming into Melbourne on Thursday night. And if I'm Brian Goorjian, I'd be like, right, what do you guys got? Where are you at? What are you thinking? Because right now you're going to get handed on a platter from this Melbourne United team if you don't come ready to play.
So what are you looking for out of that Sydney performance on Thursday night? What are the kind of the non-negotiables that need to change from Sunday to Thursday?
3 things. Defensive effort. And when I say effort, there's plenty of talk. If one man gets beaten, there's help. Second helper, third helper, play hard. So defense is there. The next thing, energy. Got to run on both ends of the floor. Defensive transition was a little bit poor the other day, and I know Gorge is very big on that. So you've got to play with that and make sure everything you do is up and down. And the third thing, play with intent. Like when you get the ball, what are you going to do? Don't just do one dribble, handoff, whatever you want to do and play that one-on-one basketball. That's not it. Play your plays, get to where you've got to do, and knock down the open shot.
Can I advance a theory with you, Brad?
Go for it.
You're familiar with the US sports broadcaster Bill Simmons?
Oh, yes.
So Bill Simmons has a theory, and it's the too many guys theory. That a team can just have too many players, and everyone thinks that they should be getting, in our case, in the NBL, 25, 20 minutes out there on the court. But clearly, on a 12-player roster, there's not 12, 20-minute slots to go around. You've got Xavier Cooks, you've got Jalen Adams, who are going to get 30-odd. Bull Cole's probably in that bracket as well. Do the Sydney Kings, with their enviable depth, just have too many guys?
Look, they do, but if there's a coach that can do that, it is Gorge. And what I think the only thing that's missing is if they were playing with that utmost intensity and playing hungry and up and in and, 90 feet. And I watched them play in preseason games and they were just, teams just couldn't get the ball over half court. And when they did, there was 8 seconds left on the shot clock. Now those Kings defenders put their hand up and say to Gorge, bring me out. Yeah, you can play 10 and 11 guys that way, right? That's okay. But they're not doing that, and that's why I think they're struggling and they've got to do it. This is where I say Gorge comes in on Thursday nights and looks at every single one of these guys and goes, right, you're playing if you play. Don't whinge to me if you don't get minutes. Don't whinge. Don't look at the stats if you're not doing it. If you're not playing hard, you're coming to sit next to me and we'll talk about it at the end of the game.
Yep, certainly. Hopefully that fixes some of their rebounding issues. So they have Melbourne United on Thursday, marquee matchup. It is going to be a really big litmus test for them. How do they match up against Melbourne, do you think, who are coming out of a pretty ominous weekend in terms of what their opposition saw?
Well, you look at Melbourne and they're just so stacked. It's Ian Clark to me. I love what he's bringing. He's shooting 50% from the field, 40% from the three-point line, and 100% from the free throw line. He's just balling. Now, Chris Golding's going to be Chris. Delhi's going to be up and in. They're Jack White. I mean, that guy's a rebounding beast as well. Love what he's bringing. So Melbourne are going to bring it. You just know that. And for me, Melbourne are like that steady line. They're going to play at that level every single time. Sydney Kings, you're going to be above that line or below that line. Which way are you going to go? So look, Melbourne have got to be favoured going into this game, and that's even without Shaley, and he gives them another dimension as well. So it's going to be a very, very tough game, but I keep saying it. This is exactly what Sydney Kings need right now. Where are you at, and how do you feel?
Yeah, I think Jack White would be salivating at the prospect of another 19 or so rebounds, potentially, the way that...
he was unbelievable.
Yeah, the way he's been getting after it at the moment. So that's the Sydney side of things. The other New South Wales team has had a really interesting weekend. Of course, they played that thrilling game against Melbourne United to kick off the round, and then the win over South East Melbourne, so going to double. Yesterday, Basketball Australia handed down its... sanction to Justin Tatum after the incident in the aftermath of their Melbourne United game. They said Illawarra Hawks head coach Justin Tatum has accepted a sanction of a $3,000 fine, will provide a public apology in response to comments made at the post-game press conference. He then released a statement, Justin Tatum, via the Illawarra Hawks, and said, as the head coach of the Illawarra Hawks, I acknowledge the responsibility of my role at the club and the example I set for my coaches, my playing staff. I apologise for my comments made at the post-match media conference in reference to the NBL officials. So, done and dusted as far as sanctions go. What did you make of that?
Look, first off, when I saw it and I saw $3,000, and some people are going to say, you're crazy. That is nothing for him. I looked at it and I thought, wow, that's quite high. And when I say that, I've been around the league for a very long time. They're not fines that high. There's $500, there's $1,000. We don't have the salaries in the NBL, although they're getting up now, which is fantastic. We don't have the salaries of these overseas NBAs and these type of players. If an NBA guy's on $60 million, $3,000, are you kidding me? Right? But when you've got an NBL situation, $3,000 is a hefty fine. Forget the dollar and can he afford it and everything like that. It's a statement from the league saying, no, we can't do that. That's not what it's about. He's put his hand up and says, I need to be better. I actually am absolutely fine with this, and I think it's been handled well. You couldn't just give a $500 fine and say, stop doing that on a wrist. I look at that and go, $3,000. Wow, that's one of the bigger fines I've seen in a very long time. And I know people will look at that and go, are you crazy, $3,000? But I believe it is.
Yeah, and I think that sort of the means-tested thing is you can't fine someone a certain amount just because they may have the capacity to play it.
Correct. Correct. What happens if a guy on minimum salary now, my God, that could be a month's salary for some people. Well, probably not a month, but you know what I mean? Like, it's difficult. And that's where I think they've done the right thing. Now, if something was to happen again, well, then now you look at it and go, right, suspensions come in and those type of thing. But he's learned his lesson. He's come out and said, yep, I got to be a leader. I got to do that. Fine, move on. Like what it's happened. That's
probably my only question is it enough of a deterrent? So, Dave Stevenson's basically come out in the past and said, we've got a zero tolerance policy as far as this stuff goes. That's where I thought it may have come in a little bit heavy-handed, but then you've got to divorce yourself from the fact that it is not an NBL decision. This is a Basketball Australia decision.
Correct.
And if you are attacked by a tiger and that tiger does not have many teeth, you cannot, you can't expect to cop too much of a whack.
But not only that, like, look at what Tatum's done over the last year and a half. I haven't seen him go to judiciary. I haven't seen any sanctions or any issues previously. So as bad as that was, I think, you look at the context and you go, right, he was really disappointed. Things were happening. This is what's gone on. He's expressed himself. It was emotion. Okay, you've learnt your lesson. Big fine in the context of NBL when I'm talking about, and we move on like that. That's as simple as it is. He's had no previous incidents before. Let's get going.
Pete Hooley made a good point in NBL Now on Friday, saying, part of this is the aftermath of the game. These press conferences are so close to the result. Maybe clubs would do well from a media management perspective, where I sort of put my professional hat on, is just get your assistant coach to do it. Like if Justin Tatum just been teed up at the end of the game, right, and there is the risk that this might happen, just from a club perspective and from a risk management perspective, it's really good. Obviously, it's a story. We want to hear from the main man, right? But if I was a sort of a trying to manage risk from a club perspective, I'd be thinking, or maybe either we ask, the other team to go first, or we just let the situation just take the air out of it a little bit.
Look, I'm with you, but no way. That's the beauty of our sport. There's, it's in every sport. Teams come in here, they do what they've got to do, and you want the coaches speaking. I don't have a problem that there's a bit of emotion out of it. Okay, some things can be wrong, but you are paid well to be a highly professional coach in whatever sport that you are doing. And the answer is this is part of it. And you've just got to be, whether you go away, you see some players, Ian Clark's very good at this. You see some players, they come off the court, they're frustrated, and they just walk down the end of the bench and they take that breath and go, right, I'm a professional, I move on and I come back, right? That's so. Coaches, it's part of the game, and I would hate to take that away. It's the beauty of our sport.
Yeah, and I think it is such a. I don't want to see it happen, but maybe if it'd be in the back of the mind of some club media managers when I put the hat of mine that starts at about 9 o'clock this morning on from a work perspective. Hey, I'm interested.
But we're an entertainment business, Joel.
Yeah.
Right. We are an entertainment business, and entertainment is that. Sorry, no disrespect. I don't want to see the assistant coach go, yeah, okay, yeah, we didn't win. It wasn't that good. No, I want this. I want the questions asked, and I want to see the coach fire up, have a go. Can you imagine Popovic in the NBA? I love him. He's great, right? That's what we want. It's entertainment.
Toe the line. It's just that the step over.
Yeah, absolutely.
And hopefully we don't. Hopefully we don't have to deal with this again this season, and we don't have anything like that.
I don't know. Maybe it would be all right.
You've really got the devil's advocate mindset today, Brad.
Loving it. I love it. I like it.
Hey, Adelaide. Big win against Cairns. Found themselves in a 19-point hole. Montrezl Harrell has emerged as an MVP contender. Mm-hmm. They are a loaded squad. Have you got them as a legit title contender?
So it's funny. I've been thinking about this a lot, right? So I had Illawarra and Melbourne number 2, right? So Illawarra 1, Melbourne number 2. I've got to swap that round after the weekend, right? So I thought Melbourne were great and they beat Illawarra. I've got Adelaide just underneath that. Now, the reason I say, and then I've got like Sydney, New Zealand just under that, and then the others are floating around. The reason I say that about Adelaide is, are they legit? Absolutely. Is Montrezl MVP caliber? Absolutely. I put him right there, and he's kicking it probably with Trey Kell and Xavier Cooks at the moment. Of course, Bryce Cotton out injured. So I'm looking at this and I'm going, right, why have I not got Adelaide there? And the only answer is we're too early in the season. Right? Melbourne, Illawarra, they were there last year. They've done it for a long time. They've proven to me that they know how to win big games. Adelaide have been outstanding. That was a big win on the weekend, but it was an undermanned Cairns. They probably shouldn't have even been in that situation when you look at it, but no disrespect to Cairns, they came to play. Adelaide, you've got an opportunity to win a title. Absolutely no question. Crowds behind you, good team, great of aura that's going around Adelaide at the moment, but I just need to see them knock off the big teams on the road and at home to be able to say, right, 3-game series semi, 5-game finals, 5-game series final. Yeah, you guys are ready, but I just haven't seen it yet. That's all.
The road test, the big one. So they're 5-3, but they're 4-0 at home. So can you go into a Sydney? Can you go into a Melbourne? Can you go into one of these venues and get your scalp there?
And really, you shouldn't be down by 16. These top teams, look at Melbourne, right, on the weekend. That was just, that was just stepping on the neck and saying, we're giving you nothing. That's why Melbourne are number 1 right now. Adelaide shouldn't have been in that position, but hey, well done. Great win. Now let's just build on that.
Yep, they get Isaac Humphries back shortly, and they just continue to load up. Josh King was introduced to media yesterday as South East Melbourne coach, of course, replacing Sam McKinnon, who went 2-1 in his 3 games in charge and did a terrific job taking charge of that situation and getting something out of it over the last couple of weeks. If you were Josh King and you were stepping into that role, or you were part of the Phoenix sort of brass that was overseeing him, what do you think his number 1 job, his number 1 priority, the first thing on his tick box list would be?
No question. Have a coffee with every single one of your players individually. Don't do it as a team environment. Go and have a coffee and learn what these guys are. You are their 3rd coach in 3 weeks or whatever it is. So, they go 0-5 or 6 or whatever it was against, the beginning of the season. They bring in Sam McKinnon. All the players are juiced up. Right, I've got a new coach. Here we go. They win a couple of games. Oh, a new coach is coming in. Oh, Sam's staying. So now I look down the path and go, okay, what's this guy going to bring? Are you going to get your players playing hard-nosed basketball the Phoenix way, or are you going to get players playing hard-nosed, I want to prove to the coach I'm good? You want the first one, right? You don't want them having to prove to the coach I can play, because then they're doing things that's not in a team environment. So that's a big job for Josh King to sit down with them and go, right, this is what I need from you. Hand around, arm on the shoulder, going, what do you need from me? Let's go get this done. And that'll go a long way.
They clearly had a connection with Sam McKinnon, the Phoenix players. Yep. That you saw that come out in them. Him being able to just sort of try and pick up where Sam McKinnon left off, at least he's got something to work with now.
Yeah, he does. And I think the way that they've been playing has been really helpful. And the fact that they've got over that hump of that first win. And I think, it will be fine. And I like the fact that Sam McKinnon's staying there, right? That will definitely be able to help them and do what is necessary. And that'll be a big thing for the new coach. But I just feel that it's going to be such a test. They're going into New Zealand that had some good win on the weekend, and this will be a good test for them. And forget about where they are on the ladder. They can climb that easy. They just got to get into that Phoenix basketball.
Yeah, absolutely. So Melbourne and Sydney to kick things off on Thursday. You've got Tassie and the Phoenix, Perth and Illawarra on Friday. It's going to be a stacked round 7 again. Brad, as always, the vibes, the energy are immaculate. Good to talk to you.
Can't wait. Bring on next round. I love it.
Brad Rosen with you on NBL Now. Thanks for your company. You can stay across everything happening at nbl.com.au or via the NBL app.